Hi, and welcome to DrupalBrief. This is an AI-generated summary of another video, podcast, or blog post. If you want to learn more about what's being discussed here, then please go check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at DrupalForge. DrupalForge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. Okay, that's it. Make sure to click subscribe, and here we go.
Welcome you. Thanks for tuning in to another deep dive. You flagged a really interesting area for us to explore today, the evolution of navigation within Drupal. You sent over some great background, including a detailed YouTube presentation, and our job here is to cut through it all and pull out the truly important and fascinating aspects of this shift in how Drupal's backend works.
That's right. You specifically pointed us to that presentation, and it's going to be our primary source as we try to understand the big picture. What sparked this change, what the journey has looked like so far, and, what the future holds for Drupal's administrative navigation.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The new navigation wasn't just launched out of the blue. It first appeared as an experimental module in April of last year, 2023.
Right, experimental first.
But what's important to know is that even before that public release, there was a significant amount of behind-the-scenes work in prototyping and design.
A lot of groundwork.
What stands out is that this isn't just a cosmetic update. The goal is for this to become the standard admin UI navigation for the entire Drupal CMS.
Absolutely. And the driving force behind this, as the presentation makes clear, is to really empower site builders. It's about giving you the tools to move beyond the standard Drupal core settings and more easily create the best possible user experience for the specific projects you're working on.
Right.
What's fascinating here is how user-focused this initiative has been from the very beginning.
Exactly. The presenters emphasized that the core reasons for this change were to provide site builders with easier customization options, better default settings right out of the box, and even clearer instructions in the future. Plus, there was a clear aim to bring the administrative UI in line with modern web standards, looking at what works well across the web, not just within the Drupal ecosystem.
Yeah, looking outside the bubble.
They even framed it as a significant step forward compared to the introduction of the Claro admin theme.
And if we connect this to the broader trend in software development, you see a definite move towards more intuitive and adaptable interfaces. The fact that the Drupal team explicitly looked at best practices beyond their own community signals a desire to create an admin experience that feels both familiar and efficient to a wider range of users, regardless of their background with other platforms.
Now, this wasn't just a team of developers brainstorming in isolation. The presentation details a really thorough user-centric design process. We're talking about serious research to understand what users actually need.
Yeah, and what's particularly insightful here is the depth of that research. They mention a deliberate effort to analyze existing navigation patterns to avoid simply reinventing the wheel, which is always a wise approach.
Always smart.
They also explored entirely new design concepts intended for the whole admin interface, although these were initially adapted for the Gin theme. But the cornerstone of this process was the extensive user testing.
5 rounds of usability testing. That's a significant investment in understanding user behavior.
It really is.
On top of that, they conducted card sorting exercises to really nail down the underlying structure of the information and surveys to gather feedback from Drupal users all over the world. It sounds like they made a real effort to get a holistic view of user needs.
And that feedback wasn't just collected and filed away. The presenters explicitly state that user input directly shaped their design decisions.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, a prime example of this is the removal of those fly-out menus, which, many users find cumbersome and prone to accidental clicks.
Yeah, those can be annoying.
Exactly. This really underscores the value of integrating user research directly into the development cycle.
Okay, so they've done the research, established the goals. Let's talk about the actual structure of the new navigation. The initial designs featured a left-side navigation and a top bar. What were the main architectural reasons for choosing that specific layout?
Well, the left-side navigation is a pretty logical choice when you anticipate a potentially large volume of information or menu items. Vertically, you just have more screen real estate to accommodate an extensive menu structure.
Makes sense.
And the thinking behind the top bar was to create a consistent place for contextual actions, things like the current status of the page, its title, and relevant buttons such as preview or save.
Okay.
The aim was to keep these essential elements readily accessible regardless of where you are within the admin interface.
That sounds like a solid plan for promoting consistency. But then the presentation mentions the arrival of Experience Builder and how that required a reevaluation of this structure. What was the potential conflict or point of confusion that arose there?
Yeah, this raises an important point about the evolution of complex systems, doesn't it? When you introduce a new major feature like Experience Builder, which has its own distinct editing interface, you have to consider how it interacts with existing elements, like the administrative navigation. If users encounter similar navigational elements in different contexts, for example, if both Experience Builder and the main admin UI had prominent top bars serving different purposes, it could lead to confusion about which controls to use and what their scope of action is.
Ah, I see. So which bar does what?
Precisely. This necessitated a collaborative effort to establish a unified strategy and avoid that potential usability problem.
And it sounds like the theme situation added another layer of complexity. Drupal core uses the Claro theme, whereas Drupal CMS has adopted the Gin theme as its default admin theme. And Gin initially had its own implementation of a top bar. That must have introduced some challenges in terms of integration.
Exactly. While the core navigation's top bar is now enabled by default in Drupal core with Claro, integrating it seamlessly with Gin has been an ongoing process.
Right, because Gin had its own thing going on.
Gin had already established its own design patterns, and harmonizing those with the core navigation's approach requires careful design and development work. It's a good example, actually, of the collaborative spirit within the Drupal community that these integration hurdles are being actively addressed.
Now, moving beyond the visible changes in the user interface, the presenters also highlighted some significant improvements happening behind the scenes in the back end. These might not be immediately obvious to someone just using the system, but they sound critical for the long-term maintainability and adaptability of the navigation.
Totally. And what's particularly insightful here is the emphasis on extensibility. By refining the underlying APIs, they're making it easier for other modules to interact with the new navigation in a stable and predictable way.
Okay.
The division of the navigation into distinct regions, you've got the icon area, the content top, the main content area, and the footer provides clear and defined spaces for different types of content and functionality to be added by various modules.
They specifically mentioned that the content top region is intended for modules like workspaces or environment indicator things that need that more direct and prominent integration within the navigation structure.
That's right, high visibility stuff.
And then the main content area initially used a duplicated version of the block UI, but that raised concerns about code maintenance down the line, right?
That's a crucial point. While initially it might seem like a quick solution to reuse existing code, code duplication can lead to significant challenges in the long run when you need to make updates or fix bugs. It becomes a real headache.
Yeah, you fix in one place, forget the other.
Exactly. So the decision to refactor and adopt Layout Builder for arranging the blocks within the navigation was a significant architectural shift aimed at promoting code reuse and simplifying future maintenance across the Drupal ecosystem.
But it sounds like that transition to using Layout Builder for managing the navigation wasn't entirely straightforward. The presenters noted some usability issues.
Yeah, they did.
Like the inability to navigate away from the admin menu while you were in the process of editing it.
This really highlights a common challenge when you're adapting a tool for a purpose it wasn't originally intended for. Layout Builder is fantastic for managing the layout of content on a web page, no doubt.
For sure.
But applying it to the administration of the navigation itself introduced some friction in the user experience. That limitation of not being able to easily switch to other parts of the site while modifying the admin menu is a significant drawback in terms of workflow efficiency.
Yeah, that would definitely slow you down. And it seems that the long-term vision might involve moving away from Layout Builder for this specific task of navigation management, perhaps exploring alternative user interfaces, or even a return to a more specialized block management system tailored for the navigation area.
This demonstrates a willingness to iterate and adapt based on both user feedback and technical considerations. I mean, the fact that they are openly discussing potential future changes like this shows a commitment to continuous improvement of the navigation experience, even if it means revisiting earlier architectural decisions.
It's good they're not just sticking to it rigidly if it's not perfect.
Right.
Let's switch our focus to the front end for a moment. The presenters highlighted some interesting enhancements on the user-facing side, with a strong focus on both improving the user experience and ensuring accessibility.
Yeah, the front end got some love too.
The removal of jQuery is a pretty significant step towards modernizing the front-end codebase.
Absolutely. While jQuery has been, a foundational library for many years, modern web development practices often allow for more efficient solutions using native JavaScript and CSS.
Less baggage.
Exactly. Moving towards SDC, which stands for a Drupal-specific component library, and leveraging modern CSS allows for a leaner and potentially faster front end. This also aligns with broader trends in web development towards more performant and maintainable code.
And I found the explanation of the safe triangle user experience pattern particularly insightful.
Oh yeah, that was neat.
It's one of those subtle design improvements that can have a real impact on usability by preventing drop-down menus from accidentally disappearing when you're trying to navigate them with your mouse. It sounds like a small tweak that can significantly reduce user frustration.
Precisely. In an administrative interface where users need to move quickly and efficiently through menus, those small refinements in interaction design can make a big difference in the overall experience.
Definitely.
And the dedicated effort behind the accessibility meta issue demonstrates a strong commitment to ensuring that the new navigation meets core accessibility standards, which is absolutely crucial for inclusivity.
Yeah, very important. The decision to move the primary navigation to the left-hand side also frees up valuable horizontal space at the top of the screen.
It does.
They mentioned that this aligns with common design patterns seen in many other administrative tools and platforms, where primary navigation with a substantial number of items often resides on the left to make better use of vertical screen real estate, especially on wider monitors.
And if we link this back to the initial design goals we talked about,
Okay.
providing more space in the top bar for those context-sensitive actions becomes more practical when the main navigation isn't also competing for that same horizontal space.
Ah, right. Yeah.
This allows for a clearer separation of concerns within the administrative interface, with primary navigation on the left and contextual tools at the top.
Okay, makes sense. Now, looking ahead, what are the key milestones on the horizon for this new navigation?
The primary objective, it seems, is to have the navigation module marked as stable within Drupal core.
That's the big one, with a target for the 11.2.x release. That sounds like a major undertaking, especially given that it will eventually involve replacing the existing toolbar.
Achieving stability in core is a significant milestone. It signifies that the module is considered robust, reliable, and ready for widespread adoption across the Drupal ecosystem.
So, ready for prime time.
Basically, yeah. And replacing the existing toolbar, which is deeply integrated into the current Drupal admin experience, will indeed be a substantial effort, requiring careful planning for update paths and ensuring compatibility with existing modules and themes that interact with the toolbar.
Lots of moving parts there.
Definitely.
And it's not just about the core module itself. The ecosystem of related modules is also growing, with integrations for things like the Shortcuts module, workspaces, the dashboard in Drupal CMS, environment indicator, and even modules that allow for role-based visibility of menu items.
Right.
This suggests a growing acceptance and extension of this new navigation approach.
Yeah, the expansion of this ecosystem is a really positive indicator. It shows that developers are embracing the new navigation paradigm and finding creative ways to extend its functionality to address a variety of needs and use cases.
Good signs.
And the mention of potential future features, such as support for more levels of menu nesting and customization options for the top bar icons, demonstrates that the project is continuing to evolve based on user feedback and anticipated requirements.
Always looking ahead. Finally, the presenters issued a clear call to action, encouraging everyone listening to explore the experimental navigation module in their development environment.
Is your hands dirty?
And to contribute to its development through testing, suggesting improvements, and engaging with the Drupal community. They specifically requested feedback from those who maintain contributed modules that currently integrate with the toolbar or existing navigation systems.
This open invitation for collaboration is such a defining characteristic of the Drupal project, isn't it?
It really is.
By encouraging early adoption and actively soliciting feedback, the development team can identify and address any remaining issues or areas for improvement before the module is declared stable.
Makes the final product better.
Exactly. And the specific request for input from maintainers of contributed modules is particularly important to ensure a smooth transition and a well-integrated experience for the entire Drupal community.
So you, our listener, if you are involved in Drupal development or site building, this is definitely something to pay attention to and potentially get involved with.
Yeah, your feedback could directly influence the future of Drupal's administrative experience. What's truly insightful here is the level of transparency and community involvement in this significant change. The development team isn't just presenting their work, they are actively seeking input and collaboration to make the new navigation the best possible experience for everyone who uses Drupal.
Okay, let's bring this deep dive to a close. Hopefully this has provided you with a much clearer understanding of the journey and the future of Drupal's new administrative navigation. It's evident that this has been a very user-focused process with a clear commitment to continuous improvement.
Absolutely. From the initial user research to the ongoing refinements and the plans for future development, the central aim has been to create a more intuitive, efficient, and modern administrative experience for everyone working with Drupal.
Here's a final thought for you to consider. Even though these changes in the administrative interface are primarily aimed at site builders and content editors, how might they ultimately impact the experience of the end users who visit Drupal-powered websites?
Good question.
Think about the indirect effects, how a more efficient and user-friendly backend might lead to better websites in the long run.
That's a really important point to ponder. The ease and efficiency with which administrators can manage and build a Drupal site can certainly have an indirect but significant influence on the quality, functionality, and overall experience of the website that end users ultimately interact with. Better tools, better results, potentially.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope it's been insightful for you. If you have any further questions or want to explore this topic in more detail, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, and we encourage you to explore the resources mentioned in the presentation and to engage with the Drupal community on this exciting and ongoing development. It's worth keeping an eye on.
Okay, we're done. To close off this podcast, I just wanted to remind you that this brief was a fully AI-generated summary, and we take no credit for the original content. If you want to learn more, then check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. And if you like this podcast, hit subscribe, post a link on social media, and recommend it to 2 friends. That's it. See you next time. Bye for now.